If we can all bow together and pay respectful, three bows. Let's bow.
So welcome everybody. The sense of welcoming, I believe we start with 10 or 15 minutes of gathering and settling. So we'll do that. And just how is it? How is it for you? How is this universe turning for you? Can you welcome it? Just welcome it. So receiving this gift of sensitivity, no rejection, or even noticing if there is rejecting and not rejecting that. This moment is given, the response released, released of any burden, released of any hindrance. The knowing known, attention given in this receiving and this release. And questioning, inquiry, alive, the whole of it, the accepting of this complete moment in this limitation, the now, the here. The experience of space, this body, the energy of this, the physicality of it, and the whole weight of it. The whole energy of it, the sensitivity, such sensitivity, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, weight of the body, and all the movements the shifting sensitivity of life. And the response that is part of this, receiving life and responding, is life. And this gives time and space. And this knowing, and this settling and this gathering, this knowing, this complete acceptance in this moment, and this complete receiving, this complete welcoming, and the responding without burdening, a release. A welcoming,
Greetings, Paul. Greetings, everyone. Let us all now put our palms together and request the Dhamma. The Brahma Sahampati, Lord of the world, with palms joined in reverence, requested a favor. Beings are here with but little dust in their eyes. Pray, teach the Dhamma out of compassion for them. Charoka, Vipati Sahampati, Patanjaliyana, Nivaraya Jada, Santi Dasata, Arajata Jatita, they say Dhamma Anukampi Mahaja.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namassami. The suggestion that form the basis of the beginning of this time together, this space, and this now, this here, this form, this gathering, or this recording, or this replaying, was one of welcoming and accepting the importance of that. Really can't be, well, it can be underestimated, but it is very important because without that first openness to just accept what is, can't really go further. That's the start of the maturing is metta, and that's the not dwelling in aversion. That not dwelling in aversion, I mean, was what we have had to have received in order to be alive as human beings, and as a human experience, it is pretty much the beginning of things. To a certain extent, it's forced upon us because we don't get much choice in the womb about what we receive. As soon as there's any sort of separation at that very, very basic stage, life is given. When life began, the first thing that didn't, what we were not given, what was not handed out at the beginning of life was an invoice. pay this, otherwise you can't get born. It's given. This and what we receive is we can't really, at that stage, we can't really do much about it. And through all of this, there's the next sort of response to it is, well, how can this suffer less? How can there be less stress? What can I do to manipulate time and space so that there's less stress? Now, that's the basis of compassion, recognizing that there is pain and stress and problems, and then trying to figure out what to do next. And of course, in order for it to really work, it requires wisdom. Just lashing out or making ignorant structures or not really knowing what we're doing, we can make much more suffering. Because the root cause of it all is ignorance. The root cause of all this problem is ignorance. And ignorance is something we're doing. It's not a condition we have, it's an activity. It's necessary. There's a certain amount of ignorance in any situation, because that's how life goes. But the knowing that there's ignorance, there's knowing that there's a limitation to what we know, allows caution, allows wonderment, allows possibility. And the way to really stay with this, and just knowing this knowing how life is perceived, knowing the limitation of that, at the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body. Knowing that there's this much. The responses and the habits of the mind. What's present? What is this here and now? What is this time and space? What knows time and space? The identification with it, or the mistake that that is perpetuated, or the ignorance that is perpetuated, what we do to perpetuate ignorance, the assumption that we make ignores the limitations of knowing, through seeking security in that which is insecure. We have this idea that there's this form, these feelings, these perceptions, these habits, this separated consciousness. This is what I am, or I'm I'm the owner of this, or I'm inside this, or it is contained within me. These are the mistaken things that we don't know that we're doing. we don't know that's happening. And what is rupa? What is form? Earth, water, fire, and air. It's what allows things to be separate. And it's described as just the foam on the sea. No, it's just foam on the sea. It's just a little bit of the foam on water, the froth on the top of your Guinness. It's the bubbles on top. It's that much. Has no substance. And yet this idea that there is this something out there that stands forth separate from me. And yet everything that is separate, everything that stands for, it's not somehow that the five khandhas are somehow separate. There are five heaps, but it's like saying the taste of an apple, the shape of an apple, the texture of an apple, the color of an apple, the weight of an apple, that they're somehow separate. No, it's all just one apple. And similarly, the five khandhas are just that much. And the four great elements, they're not separate. Earth, water, fire, and air are not separate. Earth, the fact of persistency, how things persist, the solidity of something. The water, the shape of it, what gives it definition. The air, the vibration of it, the shiftiness of it, and the fire, the transformation. Inherent in everything that is separate. Earth, water, fire, and air, that is rupa. Everything. Everything that is separate from something else. That's the nature of separation. It's earth, water, fire, air. Rupa. And of course, that implies there's going to be some sort of response to it. There's some sort of Vedana, either going towards or away. Some sort of sensitivity. And that's described as if there's heavy rain, the water drops that form on the puddles that skate across the tops of the puddles and disappear. They're incredibly ephemeral. Those little water drops go skidding across the tops of the water. They're amazing when there's heavy rain. And that's Vedana. They're just that much. It's ignorance that is the cause of all the problems. And ignorance is something we're doing. And wisdom is something we can practice. So it's we're not knowing that we're actually acting and practicing ignorance is what ignorance is. So knowing and admitting there is ignorance. Really good start. I really don't know what's going on. It's a really good start. Because that's the truth. We don't know what's going to happen next. We have some ideas about it, and these are called perceptions. And perceptions, sanya is described as a mirage. Whoa, mirages. That's the opposite of a good rainy day with bubbles skating across the top of the water. A mirage is very, very strange, isn't it? It's weird because it really looks as if something's there, but it ain't. You can get mirages, and they're just they talk about mirages in the desert, but you see them if you're driving along sometimes. A sort of funny sort of look about water or something happening in front of you or something. Mirage is just that much. It hasn't got any substance whatsoever. But boy, do we take our perceptions personally and make them something solid because, of course, if they're separate, then they've got earth, water, fire, and air in them. This is a way of talking, way of reflecting on what we ignore and figure is, no, this is mine. I can control it. Or I'm inside this, manipulating it. Or it's inside me. Or I am it. And this is the ignorance that we perpetuate. Gosh, it's much stranger than that. Because it's all to do with how the habits and the patterns of our heart work. Sankhara, pattern, habits, determinants, formations, all these words. Mental formations. It's what forms the perceptions. What gets it going. Sabbe, sankhara, anicca, and everything. Sabbe, sankhara. It's all just something that's put together. And I think this is the old thing of we know banana trees, eh? Try making something out of a banana tree. So, you peel it up, peel it up, peel it up, and there's nothing inside. My uncle used to say when he was working on the railways, he was in Thailand at the time. He said that they used to make the cuttings, and they had to fill up a whole place for, they had to do a day's work. They weren't being paid, but there you go. And so they'd make up the thing with banana plants, and if they just stuff it all in, and then put the earth on top. Well, they weren't being paid. Come on. So might as well try to do something. But banana trees are like that. They're not very heavy. They look like something, but they're not very much. And that's all the things that you take, all those ideas that you take so personally about you, all the stories you tell about yourself, all the ideas and things that you take so seriously, all these sankhara, everything just put together. And peel it away, it's just something that's come together. Ignoring that, taking it for something that it isn't. Vijnana, because the taking it for something it isn't is the conjuring trick. Vijnana is a conjuring trick. Conjuring tricks are pretty fun. You know, pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Card tricks. No. This is what consciousness is. It gives, gives fools all the time. Makes distinctions. Sense consciousness. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind. No, it's a conjuring trick. It ain't really like that at all. This whole sense of joining and separation and all of that. They're quite strong, quite explicit descriptions of the five khandhas: form, feeling, perception, conception, consciousness, rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, vijnana, that we take so personally. We think we are. We think we own them. We think we're in them. Maybe I'm somewhere in all of this. Or maybe it's in me. Somehow it's, I'm bigger than all of this. Does it need to be? How do we create spaces, create things that allow us and others to suffer less? Sabbe samkara. I created a formed thing, a formation, a determinant. Oh. Practice, practice, practice. In the sense of admitting and knowing that this is how much I know and this is how much I don't know. I can understand dukkha. I can abandon the causes of dukkha. I can abandon the sense of inadequacy that doesn't allow generosity, that depends on needing something or needing to get rid of something. Whereas actually, it's like this, and it's not getting rid of something or getting something ain't going to help. It's understanding the limitation, understanding the sense of this I is in some ways already dead because it's ignorant, doesn't know. It only knows this much. With birth and death, any sense of separation is a death. Any sense of wanting to join is a death. It's a perpetuating into limitation. Realize the deathless. Make it real. Relinquish. Realize freedom from greed, hatred, and confusion. Practice sammaditthi. Practice assuming it's okay. Assuming that that in the practice of this, there will be good results. Practice intending not to indulge, not to harm, and not to dwell in hatred. Not dwelling in hatred is welcoming. And then doing, communicating in ways that are not going to cause more stress or problems for other people. So, or for yourself. Yeah. So the communication is not lying, backbiting, gossiping, harsh speech, false speech, deliberately trying to deceive. It's called wisdom. It's generating causes and conditions. Condition things, it's generating formations, yes. Generating habits, it's practicing paramitas, if you like, or practicing the Eightfold Path, if you like. Working with the factors of enlightenment. Well, the actions are not killing, stealing, making a nuisance of yourself, lying or cheating with your, or exploiting in your livelihood. And persisting in this effort to not pick up habits that are not helpful, first of all. There's space to abandon the already unhelpful stuff that we already do. Because we've been, out of ignorance, we've done things that are not as helpful to ourselves or others. We've practiced in ways, we've developed habits, we've put formations in place that are not helpful, created things that don't lead to less suffering for ourselves and others. So then we can persist with what does actually help. Persist with that. And notice what is helpful, what does actually reduce suffering. Practice that out of a sense of appreciation, a sense of joy in the possibilities. Really practicing and realizing mudita, and joy at goodness, joy at beauty, appreciation of possibilities to reduce suffering. Mudita, when it works well, looks like that. Joy at success. Success in things that are beautiful. And that's a way of working with consciousness, because mudita is about consciousness. And part of that is like a sense of appreciating that there is sensitivity, that it's okay to feel the sense of separation. We recognize its limitation, which gives us upekkha. Upekkha is serenity, which accepts limitation and allows there to be sensitivity. So sammasati is knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it in this moment with the breath, posture. The posture is good, actually. Posture is interesting because it's about the position. There's something about posture is also something about also samadhi, because the samadhi is right view or right perspective, or perspective that's in accordance with truth, in accordance with Dhamma, which leads to peace, which is apparent here and now, which is timeless, which is realizable each wise person for themselves. No, in the posture that allows that, it's the start. Start of the Satipatthana is just knowing what's happening with the body. What's the posture that you're bringing to this moment? Yeah, that's what's happening. And then the rest of it, the four foundations of mindfulness, the four places where it's safe to give attention. These are the safe places to give attention. Yeah. Turn everything into the four foundations of mindfulness. You'll be right. It even allows, with Dhammanusati, it allows the hindrances. Now, I have to get rid of my hindrances in order to get concentrated. So, it's not hindrances are hindrances. Knowing that they're there, welcoming them. That's to do with just the basis of sammasati. This is how the hindrances are here. And investigating them as Dhamma, well, how do they arise? What are their characteristics? What is it? And not giving in to them, because virya is mostly about not doing something, not about doing something. It's about staying with it, with a sense of, okay, this is what drowsiness is like, or this is what agitation is like, or this is what doubt is like. I don't know what to do. Being peaceful with it, having a constant continuity with it, samadhi, upekkha. Do practice Dhamma samadhi. I'm not trying to get you out of that. Stay with things. Sustain the attention. What is happening now? The freedom now, here. Before thought, what's not thinking, or being caught in habit. What knows the habit? What knows the ignorant response? What knows what's generating more suffering? What knows what's being caught in the limitation of feeling there's an inside and an outside? What is caught in the conjuring trick of joining and separation? Of sense consciousness. It's a conjuring trick. What is caught in time and space? What is already dead? You know, when we look at somebody, what we're looking at is death. The hair is dead. The skin we see is dead. The nails are dead. The teeth are dead. We don't tend to think when we're looking at somebody's teeth that we're looking at their skeleton. This is the way it is. Accepting this. This is the limitation that we live with. Ignoring this. And of course, all our suffering is something we're doing. Caught in the conjuring trick. Anyway, I've probably rattled on for long enough. You probably have some questions. So stop for now. I don't promise to answer any questions, but I'll do my best to try to do something. And I apologize for upsetting anybody or causing more distress. No, we do wish you well. The intention is to offer something and wish you well. Because I'd really like you all to be enlightened, because it would make my life easier. My selfish bodhisattva vow. Thank you.
Andamayang Dhammakacaya Sadhu Karam Dadama Se Sadhu 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 Anumodam. Thank you so much, Lumpur. And we would now like to open up the floor for questions and answers. I have an immediate question here. Sister Minghui, would you like to ask that question?
Sure, thanks, Sister Peter. Thank you, Longpo, for the talk. The question I have is actually I couldn't get the term you were using. You were saying the consciousness is a something trick, and it's a what?
Conjuring trick, like a card trick, or like pulling a rabbit out of a hat.
Mm-hmm. How do you
Or
spell that word, Longpo?
conjuring. I can't remember. Conjuring is like a magician, a show magician on a stage. Yeah, somebody who can, like a trick. Like when, when they saw somebody in half, or they put somebody in the box and they disappear. It's a trick. It's not, it doesn't actually happen.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's that sort of trick. Okay, somebody's
yeah,
conjuring.
Brother Jonathan and Brother
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Conjuring. Yeah. Thank you, Longpo.
I don't know how you do it in something else. Vandana.
Thank you, Minghui. Vandana. Vandana, can you please unmute yourself? Yes, great, thank you.
Thank you, Ajahn, for the very deep teachings. It's kind of like everything I've been listening and trying to make sense out of them, but still not, still very personal. So just trying to understand this knowing element, which is also not permanent and keep on changing, but still in the moment you just think, oh, I'm the one who's knowing. I'm the one who's understanding. I'm the one who's. So how do you actually see
okay. How do you deal with the sense of I'm the one who's understanding, or I'm the one who's knowing?
Yeah.
And that sense of self that still seems to arise in this in this moment with the sense of inquiry. Is that what you're asking, Vandana?
Yeah, yes. So in, for example, right now you are teaching the Dhamma and somebody is receiving it.
Okay, Vandana, how does that work? The fact of knowing, the fact that there is knowing, allows all this to be possible. Being caught in the particular of this is the stress. Staying with the knowing before the thought of particularity, before the experience of particularity, is a little scary. But stay with that, because that's really the constant in whatever experience that is happening. The fact that there is experience is the constant. And humans have the capacity to know that knowing in a way that most beings don't. They have that reflective capacity. And that reflective capacity is practicing the path. Because you actually, when one really looks, one can't really find something that is separate that knows. There is just knowing. It's
So,
particular, but the knowing, the fact of knowing is common. And the problem comes with identification with the separateness. And thinking that it shouldn't be that way makes it almost worse.
yeah, it's easy to see the aversion, but if grasping at the Dhamma is okay to do, right? So samadhi, that grasping the teachings and trying to reflect on them and practicing.
It's okay. At the moment, there's the experience of separation. The knowing of that experience of separation is the way out. The knowing that this is actually all there is. This moment. This now, this here. And then how to respond to this limitation. Because, what we really wish is to suffer less. That's what we really wish. We'd really like to suffer less.
Sadhu.
Thank you, Lampo. There is a typewritten question here, Lampo, from Jessica. Would you like me to read it out?
Or I can, if you like, Bita, I can see it.
Okay.
I have a question. What should I do if I am unable to forgive? There is one time I'll say to myself, I have to forgive, but it's difficult. The person who I resent keeps popping up during my meditation. The person when one forgives, one forgives first oneself, and one recognizing that in forgiving oneself, then there's space to forgive others. And forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. And it doesn't mean forgetting a hurt. It means not carrying it, not making a burden of it. So the reason to forgive is not for the sake of the other person. The reason to forgive is to forgive oneself so that one doesn't have to carry the burden. So the person doesn't keep popping up in one's meditation. It's easier for you to forgive, actually, in the end, or in the beginning, actually. But to forgive oneself for not, for not being able to bear that, it doesn't mean you have to reconcile. And it doesn't mean you have to somehow ignore the hurt or the pain. What you try to do is not make more pain for yourself or more, and worry about the others. By not making more pain for yourself, I know when I'm in pain, I tend to do things that are stupid because I want to get out of the pain. And it's difficult to actually face the pain. When I do face the pain, then I can really do something, but I have to acknowledge the pain. Oh, that's and really acknowledging this really hurt. And in the case of somebody doing something that really hurts you, don't try to explain or try to figure out why they did it, because that's just hopeless. It's their responsibility. And it just gets you all tangled up. Just say, that's enough. I don't need to carry this any further. For my own sake, I'll put this down. I won't forget. I'll be careful. I won't reconcile necessarily. Reconciliation is possible if there's an acknowledgement and gestures are made in the right way. And if anyone asks forgiveness from you, there's only one response that will really help you. I forgive you. Please also forgive me. That's the only response if somebody asks for forgiveness. That's the only, don't ask for forgiveness if you don't think the person can give that response, because it'll put too much of a burden on them. Yeah? Because if they don't know the rules, then don't play with them. Yeah? Waste of time. They're just, no. You can forgive, but whether they forgive is their business. But if somebody asks for forgiveness from you, then they are trusting that you know the rules. And the rule is, I forgive you, please also forgive me. And that's the only response that's worthwhile. No, it's the rest is, I forgive you. I've done nothing wrong. You don't have to forgive me because I did nothing wrong. Yeah? No, 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 no. Or maybe they say, I don't, or maybe if you ask for forgiveness for somebody and they say, I don't forgive you. Again, no, don't ask for forgiveness unless they know the rules. Make more problem. Particularly if they say, I don't forgive you, because that means that they're going to have to carry it even further. Yeah. It's not kind to them.
Sadhu Longpa. I think Jessica has accepted that response. There are two more questions here in the chat, but we have Jonathan's hands up.
Which one do you want? Peter, your decision.
Well, maybe we invite Jonathan first.
Hi, Jonathan.
Greetings, Longpor. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, just about.
Okay, thank you so much for the wonderful Dhamma talk. I wanted to ask you about something you said with respect to the five khandhas. So I'm used to hearing about the five khandhas more or less distinctly and individually. And mental formations is one that I've always struggled with understanding. And earlier you described the connection between mental formations and perception. And I was wondering if you might just expand a little bit on that connection to help my understanding. Thank you, Longpo.
Okay. You've probably heard some of the other ways that sankhara is described. Yeah? Because it's quite a determinants is one. I like patterns, rhythms, recipes, formula. These are all how I think of sankharas. There's something that determines something. Yeah? Like a rhythm or a pattern or a formula or a recipe or, a pattern in terms of, something you follow or a musical thing. It's something that gives a structure. The simplest patterns are ones that, or forms, are when you're pressing out your cookies with a cookie cutter. It determines what happens, and the patterns that make up the whole thing of perception. Because perceptions are mostly built on habit, and habit is another word for sankhara. Mental formations is about habit. Does that help? So they feed into each other. And so because the formula feeds into each other, they get reinforced and whatever.
That's helpful, Longpo. Thank you.
Okay. I'll try some of the written ones now. When one is practicing the path towards cultivation, and different parts of me end up getting divided against itself, as in parts of oneself that is passionate energy or lust energy seems as bad. And how does one might avoid suppressing it so much? How does one practice without suppressing it so much? Yeah, suppression doesn't work, does it? Finding a way to contain, finding a way to just transform, finding a way to acknowledge. Yeah. Hating the bad habits doesn't help. Turn the muck into manure. Find ways of investigating them. Or find ways of just acknowledging, oh, that's something I don't need to touch. Or if I come close to that, I need to be protective about it. This is too hot to handle. I need to have some protective clothing on. So when you get close to places where you might find that there are things that you know are going to be dangerous or to be problematic, protect yourself in some ways. And so so you don't go close to the edge. So you don't go close to things that are hot or things that are dangerous. So it's not a question of suppressing, it's a question of just knowing. You don't walk close to the volcano edge. Or if you're going to take something, if you're going to go to a place that's toxic, then wear protective clothing. When there are habits that you know are going to be problematic, going to be toxic, going to poison, going to color the things, or going to some way disturb, then find a way of putting an anchor down, or find a way of stabilizing oneself. Come back to the posture, come back to the body. The contemplation of the body, basic one. The breath, the posture, the way the body is. Very simple. And not thinking about it, not so much, but just more like, aha. So good. Those are my suggestions with that. For some things one develops an allergy, one's oversensitive towards them. You just have to think about somewhere and you get over proliferation. You need to protect yourself from that. Okay. I'll try the next one. Is it correct to forgive also because we can assume our past bad karma has ripened in this lifetime and therefore we have less karmic debt? That's a way of using the idea of karma vipaka. If it helps you suffer less, fine. And use the idea of karma. It's a sankhara. Karma is an idea. It's a sankhara. It's a perception. It's also, a description of the fact that there is causality and there is the results of intentional action. The laws, most natural laws, well, all natural laws are descriptions. There is a distinction between natural law and made-up law, like the law of the land. Right? Karma is a natural law. It's part of a natural law, and it's a description. It's a description of the fact that there is causality, and it's a way of describing causality that gives the possibility of liberation. If it's used well, is a description that does that. If it's used badly, it can be used as a weapon. It's his bad karma, or it's my bad karma, or he's creating bad karma. Or it can be used as an excuse. Oh, I can't do anything about it. It's just my karma. I have to behave like this. It's an idea. Ideas are tools. How you use a knife is important. You can either use it for stabbing somebody or for cutting vegetables. And if you do use it for cutting vegetables, be careful you don't cut your finger. And ideas are tools. They're levers. Most things are just levers, complicated levers for moving things around, generating causes and conditions. Yeah, you can use it like that. It's not. It's a okay way of using the idea of karma. Regarding forgiveness, you said to forgive is simply to put down the weight and no longer carry it. How do we actually do this? Notice if you're carrying something and put it down. If it's still heavy, you haven't put it down yet. It's not that. That's for. Notice when you do put it down. That's why I like to encourage people to notice when they laugh at themselves and they laugh at things. I think a sense of humor is, well, a sense of the ridiculousness is actually helpful. And this life is particularly ridiculous. Gosh knows. it's, it's a really, really weird experience. Come on. This business of being a separate human being is freaky, man. It's very, very strange. No? But it's so important. No, it's just strange. How do we do the best we can with it? Because this is a tool. This is just a lever. I've noticed that memories of wrongdoings and unskillful speech and actions of the abusers are very sticky and keep popping up in the mind, creating pain and suffering. Yes. How to heal the pain and put down the weight. How do we practically do that in our meditation? Thank you. Well, the first thing is to forgive yourself, as I say. I'm finding this difficult. I forgive myself for finding this difficult. I accept that. I'm not going to make more problems about this. This is difficult. Yeah. Is something heavy? It's only heavy if you pick it up. And part of it is not making a problem about not being able to forgive. I can't forgive this. I can forgive myself for not being able to forgive this. Maybe I will sometime in the future, or maybe it won't matter, but I'm not going to. Yeah. You're not pretending it didn't happen. You're not pretending it didn't have an effect, because it did. It is having an effect now. It is a cause and it's had an effect. And it's like this, and this is really painful. It's not pretending that something is somehow right when it's wrong, because it was wrong. It's not pretending there needn't be consequences for things. It's not pretending that you should just somehow sort of not do anything about it. Call the police. Make the prosecution. Give the evidence if you can, but still forgive. It's not forgetting. It's not trying to wash things away. It's trying to make causes and conditions so that there's less suffering now and in the future. Best you can do. Peter.
Thank you. Are there any more questions from the floor? Anyone else? Let's go to the final question. Thank you, Long Paul. I think you've answered many of the questions today, and I would like to formally request you to close the session by leading us in two chants. One is the Buddha's words on loving kindness, and the second one in the verses and sharing the aspiration, Long Paul.
So this I'm supposed to chant, it's not I. That's the idea, isn't it?
Yes, correct, Long Paul. I'll put the words up.
Okay. This is what should be done by one who who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless. Through the goodness that arises from this practice and through this act of sharing, may all cravings and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth. May I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled.
Thank you so much, Long Paul. And we'd like to now, as a community, brothers and sisters, let us all now put our palms together. We'll do the closing homage and we'll take leave from Long Paul Vajiro and thank him for his really compassionate and patient explanation to all of us to help us in letting go of the sankharas.
And thank you, Vita, for organizing all of this.
Araham Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddha Bhagavanta Abhivademi. Sadhu Bhagavata Dhammo Dhamma Namasami Subhadivana Bhagavato Savata Sangho Sangha. Let us all now rejoice in expressing our gratitude to Lumpur Vajiro by saying sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, 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 anumodami. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.